There's something that always comes up when we have these conversations in Nigeria, especially with Benin people. They will tell you that the Yorubas have different versions of Oduduwa. But many of you at times, many of you Yorubas that I've met, that I've come across, when they say that to you, you start changing mouth. But do you know that the Yorubas do not actually have as many versions as Oduduwa as the Benins who are accusing you have? Do you know that from Ile-Ife, which is a source and whose son was Oduduwa, do you know they only have two versions of Oduduwa? One was a myth of origin, and it has been clarified by historians over and over again that it's a myth of origin. But when we talk about the human Oduduwa who became a king in Ife and unified Ife, yes, because Ife was existing in different communities with their different rulers. They don't understand Yoruba history. Now, do you know that Ife only has one source for Oduduwa, who is Olofin-Otete? And the source says that Olofin-Otete came from Okeora to unify the communities of Ife. Now, let me tell you one thing you do not know. Do you know that the Benin's, they have several versions of their Ikaladeran fabrication, Ikaladeran fast, and that those versions are about 5 to 6. And in this series I'm starting, maybe I'm going to be able to do like 2 or 3 videos on it. We are going to talk about those versions, and we are going to see if you actually pay attention to the narrative technique and the narration, how it flows, you will know that it's a fabrication. Yes, you will know that it's a fabrication. Now, before I start presenting to you each of these versions, do you know that before 1970, yes, before 1970, several people that wrote Benin history claimed that Ikaladeran fled Benin and ran to Ugotun and lived and passed away in Ugotun.
Well, thank you, my brother, for the question regarding how Ikaladeran, the Prince of Benin, later crossed to Igala land. There are 3 reasons. I'm going to summarize them briefly. And one of the reasons, remember that he was to be killed due to certain problems in the palace of the Oba of Benin. And he was brought to Ogbahon. Now, there was the place he was to be killed. But the people had mercy on him and let him be. So they later killed the fowl and allowed the blood of the fowl, made use of the blood of the fowl to stain the knife and took it back to the palace to show Oba that he had been killed. So that was how he was spent. But staying there again, the news was going briefly to the palace that it's like he was alive. And so that was one of the reasons. He had to run. He had to run, but running to where he crossed to Ida, because the separation between Ida and Edo or Benin is just the River Niger. And so he quickly crossed and came to stay in Ida. That is one reason. Then one of the second reason again is that after some time, you should also ask yourself that if you have a problem in your family, you have to see, and you want to run away, you have to see the place to run to. And this place to run to will be mainly either your relatives or relatives of parents, your uncle or their friends. And so Izodua, which Izodua in our own way is Ojodua, that is God has brought him, and later called Oduduwa by Taigala. He came to Ida because he knew the relationship between Pa Idu, the progenitor and ancestor, and Igala people. In fact, when Igodo, his own town, presently the Benin Kingdom, was flooded, Pa Idu brought his people to Uhe in Omala, Kogi State, where they stayed for some time before they went back. So he knew all this, and that was why he came to Ida. One of the reasons. So now the third reason again is that he did not stay in Ida for too long. Why? Because at that time, Atta used to send messengers to the palace of Oba. Oba also used to send his own messengers to Atagala. They were exchanging many things and doing many things together. And so staying too long in Ida, the people coming from the palace of Oba will one day discover that he did not die. And the news will again go to the palace of Oba, and he will eventually be captured and be taken to the palace of Oba, and he may be killed. And so he decided to move from Ida to Uhe or Ife, which is a bit far away from Ida, and there he stayed, married, had children before he relocated to Ile-Ife. In fact, he went with some Igala people, those that are in Agila town, when you are going closer to Ile-Ife along Ondo, Ile-Ife way. And so these are the three reasons why Oduduwa crossed from Benin to Ida. Thank you, my brother. If the answers are not adequate, you can still ask more. Thank you.
Welcome back to Local Journal, my people. The mythology wey surround this Oduduwa matter and the real story of Oduduwa na something wey be say most of us no even understand, because so many versions dey come out every day and everybody dey claim say na from their own side na Oduduwa come from. The Benin dey talk say Oduduwa na Benin man, and the Yorubas dey talk say Oduduwa na Yoruba man. So many conflicting stories don come out on top of this matter. And as it be like this, some dey talk say the matter don dey bring confusion as to where Oduduwa really originated from. I know say plenty of our followers sabi history well and they know the real origin of Oduduwa. So I go want make una drop wetin una get to talk about this matter for inside the comment section. But before you drop wetin you get to talk on top of this matter for inside the comment section, make you watch the video to the end so that you go understand wetin dem talk for inside the video before you drop your own comment. And before we watch the remaining part of the video, if today na be the first time wey you dey visit our channel, abeg make you like, make you share, make you subscribe.
The Oduduwa that was in the creation myth of the Yorubas, who was said to have come from heaven. That's why they call him Atenwaro. And then the Oduduwa, who was a human being who unified the Elu communities, who came from Okiora, who was born Oma Abure, Oduduwa Oma Abure. For all of you have been crying on my video, who gave birth to Oduduwa. In Oduifa, his father's name is called Abure and not Owodo, because he was born in Okiora. And every coronation rites of Ife shows that Oduduwa didn't migrate whether from Mecca or from anywhere aside Okiora, because every Oni must go to that forest around Atakumosa. Anybody who has traveled that road before knows what I'm saying. You will be seeing that around Atakumosa, very close to Oshu. You'll be seeing that mountain inside that deep bush. That's where Okiora was, towards Ilesha. All other auras in Yoruba land is named after that Okiora. That is where Oduduwa originated from. Our people were living on those mountains and inside caves, and archaeology has proven that. The archaeology of Iho, Ele, Iru, Atishan proves that the Yoruba ancestors were living in caves and on mountains. Okeora was existing before the Elu communities of Ife, who settled in the valley. Yes. The Elu communities came after the Okeora settlement. Now, there are places in Yoruba land where people lived on mountains. This shows that the Yorubas had been around since the Paleolithic age. So all of you have been claiming, some Igbos will go and get something on Google and say the Igbos are older than Yorubas by 2,550 years. You are lying. Except you can prove that you existed around the Paleolithic age. Because that skeleton found in Isharu is dated to 13 to 15,000 years ago. Then the ghost DNA found among the Yorubas. So the people on that were living on that Okiora. Some of them came down. People started coming down. Idare too. Idare. They came down when? 1920 something or so. The Idares were also living on those hills. That was where their first settlement, their forefathers settled. So there have been people who lived in hills and caves in Yoruba land. There are evidences of such before they started settling in the valley. That was the case of Ile-Ife, or Ugbomu, or Ikedu. Now, when they started coming down, they started forming different communities, breaking into communities. These communities are called the Elu communities. Now, in that video, I was only clarifying the Oduduwa that is said to have founded Ile-Ife when Obatala got drunk in the myth of origin. And the human Oduduwa that was named after that deity. That was what I was saying in that video. But a lot of people could not get it. They couldn't get it. Another comment said I should not get it twisted, that there was another Uhe or Ife in Igala land. And yes, those other Ile-Ifes, whether in Yagba Okun land or Igala land, came from Ife, the Ile-Ife of today, in the past. And they took that name with them to settle where they are. Probably the Akpoto that the people who came from Wukari mixed with, fused with to form Igala people are the ones who took that name Ife to that region. Because we can see the traces of the Akpoto, not just in Igala land. We have their traces in Lokoja, the Oworos, Yorubas who must have grown out of the Akpoto population, who are the Aboriginals who moved to that place. The Okuyagba people must have been descendants of those Akpoto. Yes. Must have been descendants of those Akpoto. So, if the Benins or the Edos are saying that it is from that Uhe in Kogi they came from, because I've seen a video like that before of an Igala who said that the Benins and the Edos, all of them, and they came from that Uhe. If they came from that Uhe, you are just like the like the grandchildren of Ile-Ife. Because those who left Ife founded that place, the Akpoto. Then it now means that the Akpoto were your own forefathers. They left Ife, Oye Lagbo, Ife Oye. That's where they left, Ikedu or Ubomokun. That is where they left to migrate to that place. It is the reason today that the Nupes, the Baribas, the Batonus, all of them in that region, they have very close relationship with the Yorubas. There are evidences showing up now that some of them migrated out of Ikedu or Ubomokun. And that's why there are deep similarities. So, most of these people, especially from the Middle Belt down to the south here, have close relationship with Ife. Yes, there seems to be a proto ancient people that gave birth to all of us, of which those proto people are the forefathers of the Yorubas. Yes, and we have retained their DNA, we have retained all their characteristics today. So all of you have been saying that was what I was saying in that video. And for all of you have been saying that Honey of Ife said that they believes that Ile-Ife was where Adam and Eve were created. Honey of Ife could say that because of the ghost DNA and some of the archaeological evidence. But if you believe in the out of Africa story, you will realize that Ife is as ancient as Ethiopia, Abyssinia. That's Ethiopia, because, well, the mitochondrial DNA has been found in Ethiopia that shows that every human being originated from Africa. So it is possible that the biblical Garden of Eden was actually Africa. Yes, because of that mitochondrial DNA.